if you guys don't know, we do a series on every single team. Right now we're starting the offseason version of this, heading into the draft, where we're just going to recap the season that they just had a little bit, but then really focus on what's going on now in this offseason with the draft coming up, any personnel changes, coaches changes, and what we think that is going to happen in the draft. So the fourth team is going to be the New England Patriots, 4-13. They had a decent season. I mean, obviously their high point was Drake May, who looked really good. And looking at their offensive roster, they're pretty limited everywhere. So do you have anything that you want to add on the New England Patriots season this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think promising from the standpoint of like, okay, we've got our guy in Drake May. Now it's time for us to begin to build around him and like actually get him some weapons and some guys to throw him the football. But I think from that perspective, obviously New England is not used to only winning 4 games in a season. So I'm sure that part of it gets frustrating, but they look like they have their guy for the future. So I think that's probably the brightest spot that you can really ask for.
Yeah, and this might be a little repetitive for people who might have heard this before, but for the people who haven't, what the New England Patriots did so far this offseason was just like all about righting their wrongs. They knew that they had a hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick in Gerard Mayo, and Flat just had an all-around bad showing this season with the media, with the players, with how he handled the Matt Judon situation. Everything wasn't great out of Gerard Mayo, but me and you have talked about it before. It feels good instead of them having sitting around and letting it fester even longer. They knew that Mike Vrabel was out on the market. So they went and fired Gerard Mayo and kind of wiped their hands clean of the situation. They knew it was going to go down a path that would have just led him to get fired no matter what. And me personally, I applaud that. Do you have anything that you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I think they made the right move getting rid of Gerard Mayo. I think that they it's almost like they penciled him in like 3 years too early for him to be their head coach. And they got to that point when it was time for him to step up. And they were like, all right, well, we can't really go back on this now. So he's going to be the head coach. But I do give them credit for moving on and realizing that he was probably way too early for a head coaching position. So I think they deserve credit for that.
Yeah. They keep Elliot Wolf as their GM, which is fine. I mean, Drake May obviously landed in their lap, so they're going to keep him, but I think probably it's safe to say that Vrabel will have some input on like what the roster looks like. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I would imagine he's probably going to start to sit down if they already did this, I assume, but sit down with the GM and begin to figure out what they want this team to look like for the next 10 years.
Definitely.
If he's there for 10.
Me and you have completely different opinions on what we look for in a head coach. And I think that there's probably three. It's the culture guy, it's the offensive guru, and then it's like a defensive head coach.
Yeah.
I personally will go culture over the offensive whiz kid because although in recent memory it has worked, like if you look at like Sean McVay, who's had a ton of success, a Shanahan who's had a ton of success, but there's also some major misses as well, just as any. But the only reason why I go for something as such as culture in a building is because we watched like us coming up as kids into like our young adulthood. We watched what culture could be, how effective culture could be with the Bill Belichick and Tom Brady Patriots for 20 plus years. And there's obviously always a big question mark, like whose culture was it actually? I mean, Bill Belichick instilled that culture into that building and carried it. And it just so happened that their best player, their quarterback, embodied that culture and brought it to the table just as much as anybody else did. But me personally, I'm going with the culture guy over the offensive guru. And I think the Patriots have the opportunity to completely dominate this offseason because I think Vrabel and Mike McDaniel's is an A+ hire. Vrabel is a 3-time Super Bowl champ as a player. McDaniel's is a 6-time Super Bowl champ as an offensive coordinator. The winning pedigree that organization and that building has is like no other. And I know what you're going to say, so I'm going to just get out in front of it right now. Mike McDaniel's has not been a good head coach. It is what it is. There are a lot of guys, and there's going to be somebody who I'm going to just single out exactly as Steve Spagnuolo. He's a 4-time Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. And as a head coach, he went 11-41 as a head coach, way worse than Mike McDaniel's has. So I just want people to understand that not everybody is going to be a head coach, but you could be a very high-end offensive coordinator. And I think that Mike McDaniel's has gotten too much of a bad rap at this point, and I'm excited to watch him do something with this New England offense, who has been lackluster over the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is something that we'll agree on until we see how it fully plays out with this New England team for this year and the next few years. But I'm not nearly as high on these two coaches as far as Vrabel and Mike McDaniel's goes, as far as developing Drake May. We'll see how that plays out. But I will say,
why is that the issue of developing Drake May when Drake May already had probably maybe like collectively everybody agreed because they got fired after one season, one of the worst coaching staffs that you could have. They were literally a one and done. They were fired before the last game of the season was even over. Why even Drake May shown through opportunity that he was able to do that and fight through that? Why wouldn't somebody who has had the opportunity to develop one of the best of all time? I know that like for some reason, like he gets like zero credit for like being able to develop Brady. Brady was a 6th-round pick. Nobody cared about him, and he developed him into being one of the best quarterbacks ever. Why is that not taken into account when he walks into the building to have an opportunity to work with somebody like Drake May, who shined through a bad offensive coaching staff, who was a one and done, and now has the opportunity to work with maybe one of the best to ever do it?
yeah, so I think it's two things. I think a lot of his success was because of Tom Brady. I just think that's how good that he was as a quarterback. And then I don't think that it's impossible for him to develop Drake May, but I don't think that it's great for Drake May to continuously have to battle through bad coaching in order to prove that he's going to be that good of a quarterback. I think if everything were to go properly, I think Drake May could be the second best quarterback in the NFL at some point, probably
Okay.
some point soon.
Okay.
I think he's that talented, and I just don't. I think without the right coaching, if he doesn't get the proper coaching, I don't think he'll ever get to that point. Is what I'm trying to get at. And
But my
I don't know. I just don't think outside of Brady that McDaniel's has done enough to prove that he's that good of an OC. I think Tom Brady was one of the biggest reasons. Well, clearly is the biggest reason for his success, and I think a lot of it was because Tom Brady was just that good, was that competitive, and was that much of a psycho. I'm not discrediting him 100%. Like, obviously, you get some credit if you're along for the ride, right? Because you are an offensive coordinator and you do put the work in and week out, and there's things I'm sure that he contributed to Tom Brady's success, but I think a lot of it falls back on Tom Brady.
And this isn't a situation where like Tom Brady wasn't calling the plays, correct? I'm just making
Yeah, I
sure.
know, but he was the guru behind it all. I think Tom Brady was just that
I mean,
elite of a quarterback.
Josh McDaniels designed some of the best offenses to ever grace the field in the NFL. Like
That's great. And then you had the greatest quarterback ever to go out there
Moss,
and execute it.
with Gronk, with Randy Moss. I'm just saying, Tom Brady, everybody to sit here and say that Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback in the NFL, he was after a certain point, but through the very imperative years throughout Tom Brady's career, which made him the best quarterback of all time. Before he won Super Bowls and was the best ever, Josh McDaniel's was the reasoning why Tom Brady was who he was. He was his offensive coordinator pretty much majority of his entire career. And like, if that doesn't mean anything to you, like, I just think that's absurd. I just use Steve Spagnuolo as a direct example. Everybody loves to praise how great of a defensive coordinator he is and how great of a job he is. Nobody ever brings up his tenure as a head coach where he went 11-41 and like it just doesn't get brought up. So why are you so hard to judge McDaniel's on his head coaching performance when there are multiple coordinators? I could go into I should have probably given more than one example as like a Steve Spagnuolo of people who have been extremely successful as a coordinator role and not a head coach.
Because I'm not sold on him as an offensive coordinator when Tom Brady wasn't there either. And Tom Brady left and continued to play and won a Super Bowl without him. So, like, I don't really think it was that much of a big deal. And also, I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear that I don't think he deserves as much credit as you're giving him. I think he deserves some, and that's where I'm at. Do I think he deserves zero credit for being the offensive coordinator of one of the best quarterback of all time?
He deserves some, but he's a six-time Super Bowl champion. 6.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that a lot of that was because of Tom Brady.
I think as a historian,
I think 87 to 90% of that was because of Tom Brady.
Okay, well, Tom Brady wasn't calling the plays. Maybe that's I don't understand that.
You still have the best person at the position to ever play going out there and executing.
Was Tom Brady the best at the position in 2006? Was he the best ever during the 2000s?
I don't know. I was 10 years old.
He wasn't. He wasn't the best ever during the 2006 season.
Well, yeah, you're not going to be the best ever in year 5? 6?
I'm just saying, you discrediting the fact that Drake May has somebody who has worked directly with the greatest quarterback of all time and was his offensive coordinator and quarterback coach during imperative years of his career and is a 6-time Super Bowl champion is like literally ridiculous. Like, you just being like, I'm not bought in on that is ridiculous.
I'm not. I need to see him do it with somebody besides Tom Brady.
I just wanted you to hear that in your own ears, that somebody who developed the best quarterback of all time and is a 6-time Super Bowl champion, you aren't bought. He hasn't done enough for you to be bought in on him yet. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I want to see him do it with somebody not named Tom Brady. That's all that I want to see, is him prove it that he can do it without Tom Brady, and if he can do it with Drake May, I will say that I'm wrong. Until then, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's the best offensive coordinator in the NFL.
He might be one of the best, not the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. He might be one of the best offensive coordinators ever.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he's that great. If he can develop somebody outside of Tom Brady, I will agree with you.
I just want to make sure that you know how ridiculous you sound when you're not.
I don't think it's that crazy to want to see somebody prove it outside of having the best quarterback of all time play the game.
He was. I think the amount of discredit that everybody.
Nobody gave Andy Reid this amount of credit until Patrick Mahomes came around.
That is not true at all. Andy Reid has always been known as one of the best offensive play callers in NFL history.
Yeah, but it wasn't to this level.
The only thing
it was not to this level until Mahomes came around. They kicked him out of Philadelphia. Come on,
he had to get kicked out of Philadelphia. Do you not agree
he had
with
plenty
that?
of talent. He had plenty of talent on those teams.
But when he left Philadelphia, how many games did they win that season? 10 in his last season with the Eagles.
He's now considered like the best coach of all time.
Because he's won 4 Super Bowls.
Because he finally got a quarterback that's good. That's really good.
Okay, but before that, nobody was discrediting the fact that Andy Reid was able to put out a really great offense on the field. And if you don't think that, that's ridiculous.
I think that he deserved the credit that he got, but I think him getting NFL Hall, like him getting to this other level doesn't happen without Patrick Mahomes. And I think a lot of the success is so quarterback dependent. And that's where I'm at with, McDaniel.
Okay. So, boom. That's something that we can agree upon then. You think Drake May's special. I think Drake May's special.
I agree.
What is holding him back then? If you're able to take a decent quarterback, which Tom Brady at the time was a 6th round pick. Tom Brady wasn't like the most coveted player at his position at that time, and get the best out of him. If you're not sitting here thinking, okay, they have somebody really special in the building, if you think somebody who has proven it on the highest level multiple times, who has 6 Super Bowl wins, like, what are you talking about?
I'm saying I want to see him do it with somebody not named Tom Brady is my whole point.
I just think
that's where I've said this. That's where I've been at this entire time.
I think that I personally, I'm just putting this on record, and that's fine. We could disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. I'm just saying, you not thinking that Vrabel and McDaniel's is an A+ hire is literally the worst take of all time. All time.
I think that Vrabel's a really good motivator of men, but do I think he's that great of a head coach? No.
He is. He really is.
We'll see. We'll see. If New England's that good, we'll see.
He was the best name on the market this season, and everybody can sit around and love Ben Johnson and love all these guys. Mike Vrabel was the best hire made this offseason, and it's not close.
Agree to disagree.
Who was the best in your opinion?
Ben Johnson.
I mean, that's ridiculous. So you're bought just in
personal preference of coaching.
You're bought in. You're sitting here saying, well, Josh McDaniels hasn't done enough for me to prove that he can develop a quarterback, but you think that Ben Johnson can develop Caleb Williams and he hasn't proven anything in the league?
We saw how good Jared Goff looked.
My God, it's ridiculous. That's why you're
it's not. Right now.
You're literally
saying, Ben Johnson was the number one coaching prospect for the last 2 years. Everybody wanted him.
What big game has Ben Johnson ever won in his career?
He's not a head coach. He's an offensive coordinator. It's the head coach's job.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
So that's why I'm not sold on Vrabel either.
But I'm just saying, Vrabel's proven that he's been able to take a roster with mid-level talent and get the best out of them. There's actually
that roster was really good.
How?
They had prime Derrick Henry. They had AJ Brown. Their offensive line was great. Their defense was great. That Titans team was good.
You are sitting here and you're the guy who literally never stops talking about how important it is to have a good OC and a good offensive coordinator. And they had Arthur Smith and Ryan Tannehill, and he got the best out of a roster. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, it's not like
easy to turn the ball turn around and give the ball to Derrick Henry 35 times a game.
But in a league where like that wasn't an equation for 95% of the league to be successful, like that's impressive. He understood what he had to do with that roster to get the best out of them. So I think that
I'm not saying he doesn't have like necessary awareness. I'm just not sold on him being able to do it with the talent that is currently in New England.
But you're literally sitting here being like, Ben Johnson is the best hire of the offseason, and he's going to develop Drake May. He hasn't done, but he hasn't proven anything. And you have a guy who has been excellence who has 6 Super Bowls, and you're like, I'm not.
He has proven stuff. He immediately, when he took over play calling for the Lions offense, they went from the worst to like the best offense in the league.
Okay, but so you like having somebody who can get the best offense in the NFL, but somebody who has legitimately
and he got it out of Jared Goff, who you think is horrible.
Somebody who is, they've never won a big game ever. Detroit, that's
not Ben Johnson's job on the offensive side of the football. Their defense had They were playing with a Frankenstein defense.
How great was Ben Johnson's play calling this year when Jamison Williams, during the most high leverage part of the game, threw a fucking interception? So, like,
yeah, bad call. That happens.
Okay, but
every OC's made a bad call, but like we're not going to sit here and act like Ben Johnson hasn't put out great offenses since he started taking over.
Acting like Ben Johnson is like the answer when you have somebody who's
but you're acting like
has done it.
These two guys are the answer.
They are. They
are. Okay, so then why is your they are different than my they are?
Because Ben Johnson's
proven that he can put together a phenomenal offense, and he's done that.
But outside,
and he turned Jared Goff into a great quarterback, into a really good quarterback, way better than what anybody thought he would get to.
Okay, so let me just so
Jared Goff has played in two of the best offensive situations that he could, and they've been. If Jared Goff was in any other spot, he'd look horrible.
Let me think this through. Jared Goff was good with Sean McVay. He was good with Ben Johnson. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I think Caleb Williams is going to be good.
I'm just trying to get this through to my head. So the Lions winning 2 playoff games is better than a bunch of guys who have
than Vrabel
won
100 one playoff game
and a bunch of Super Bowls. All right, I was just making sure. I'm just making sure.
One did it with the best quarterback of all time. The other one did it with Jared Goff and is going to have Caleb Williams rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
Vrabel had the best running back in his prime in the NFL.
Yeah, running backs are super important.
At the time, yeah, it was. Derrick Henry was unstoppable the year that they were the number one team.
The position that nobody wants to pay is really important. Okay, I was just listening.
Well, that's not true.
Listen, I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
That's not true at all.
Ben Johnson winning 2 playoff games is more impressive than Josh McDaniel's dominating.
Then Josh McDaniel's getting backpacked by the best quarterback ever. Yes.
Then Josh McDaniel's putting out one of the best offenses in the history of the game. I'm just making sure.
He got absolutely backpacked. He had the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah,
and you're giving him
you just sat here.
Credit.
You just sat here and said Andy Reid's a terrible head coach. Dude,
I never said that. I never said that. I never said that he was a terrible head coach.
Had Patrick Mahomes, he would have been nothing. You just said that.
That's correct. He wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, and he wouldn't have been at the pedestal that he's at right now.
I'm not bought in on. I need to see Andy Reid.
That's crazy for you to think that he would be at the same pedestal without Mahomes.
Time out. I need to see Andy Reid do it with a different quarterback other than Patrick Mahomes before I ever give him credit.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the pedestal that Andy Reid is put on now is because of Patrick Mahomes and because he's had a phenomenal quarterback.
Okay, and that's fine. And
the pedestal, he would have not reached that point without Mahomes.
You know what I need to see? I really, honestly, these last 4 Super Bowls that Andy Reid's won, I'm throwing them out because
that's not what I'm saying.
Until he can do it without Patrick Mahomes, he's
still a good head coach. I'm saying the pedestal that he's put on now is significantly different than the one that he's ever been on.
He's been backpacked by Patrick Mahomes, and
I don't understand why that's so insane to give a lot of credit to a quarterback.
I will never give Andy Reid.
They're the ones playing.
I will never give Andy Reid.
That's crazy. You're twisting this around. This is crazy.
I'm just saying because he got the opportunity to coach one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever grace the game. So I'm not giving Andy. I'm not
blaming him for that. I'm not blaming either one of those guys for that. But you can't sit here and we can't sit here and say that that the quarterback was not a significant part as to why they're at the pedestal that they're at. That's my point.
You're contradicting yourself.
I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm not contradicting myself at all.
Because he has more Super Bowls than Andy Reid does.
Okay, yeah, he had the best quarterback of all time running his offense.
Okay. Too bad we can't properly judge Andy Reid's career because he got backpacked by Patrick Mahomes. All right.
I think Andy Reid's a great coach. I think he was a good coach before Mahomes came around, and I think he's even better now because he has all the success because of the guy that's wearing 1-5 out there on the field.
Okay.
That's why is that so insane to want to give so much credit to the players? Those guys, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being associated with Mahomes or Brady, but those are the guys that did it. So Andy Reid and McDaniel's did bits and pieces,
ridiculously hard. You're literally sitting here
I'm saying that those are the guys that
you're
did
literally
it.
sitting here saying,
But I want to see them
Ben
do it with
Johnson,
somebody else. And
you're literally
Andy
sitting
Reid
here,
wasn't nearly this good without Patrick Mahomes.
You're literally sitting here saying,
And
I'm not
McDaniel's
bought
isn't
in.
as good without Tom Brady. That's exactly what I'm saying is what I just said.
You're literally sitting here saying, I don't think that the hire that the Patriots made of Vrabel and then him bringing in McDaniel's is a good hire. Okay, that's fine.
That's not what I said.
Time out. In the same breath, you're saying the best hire of the offseason is Ben Johnson, who's done nothing.
I think he's a better offensive mind than both of those guys.
Who's done nothing. And then in the same breath, you're sitting here saying, I need to see Josh McDaniels do it with another quarterback than Tom Brady. But then you're giving all this credit to, you wouldn't give any credit to Andy Reid for being a great offensive mind until he got Patrick Mahomes.
That's not what I said at all. I said Andy Reid was a good coach. No, I did not. I did not say that. I said Andy Reid was a good coach before he teamed up with Mahomes. And now he's on a different pedestal because of the success that him and Patrick Mahomes have had. But that is what I said.
But are you bought in on Andy Reid?
Yes, he's had success without Mahomes. Okay. He was a very good coach without Mahomes, and he was here. And then he got Mahomes, and now he's here because they won Super Bowls together. What did McDaniel's do without Tom Brady? He was here with Tom Brady. Without Tom Brady, he's down here. That's my entire point.
Who was his quarterbacks during his 10 years as a head coach? Like, do you remember?
He wasn't it was Mac Jones and somebody else, but if you're that good, where's the development at? Mac Jones is a free agent. Mac Jones was a top 15 pick.
He had Sam Bradford.
Top 10 pick.
He didn't play. He was hurt, in fairness. AJ Feely was his quarterback in 2011 with the Rams.
If you're as good as that, then why can't you develop these guys? Maybe a little bit of it is because Tom Brady's pretty fucking good.
And then in 2022, the Raiders, I believe that's Derek Carr. Correct?
Probably. I'm assuming you're looking this up.
It's Derek Carr. So AJ Feely and Derek Carr was his two, and Mac Jones was his quarterbacks without Tom Brady.
Okay, well, if you're as good as you think he is, what happened?
I'm just saying.
Where's the development out of those guys? Mac Jones was a top 10 pick.
Mac Jones always stunk.
That's not my decision.
It's okay.
You're the coach. You're that good. You got to develop him.
Did McDaniel's draft Mac Jones, or was that a part of the end of the?
I'm sure he was probably in the room. I'm sure he's probably in the room having some type of conversation about it. I'm not going to sit here and say that he was blindly, that it was the pick is in and now the OC figures out who the head coach is or who the quarterback is. Give me a break. There's no way.
I'm just saying, you discrediting Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator who has 6 Super Bowls and was great for 20 years. And then you in the same breath,
I just want to see him do it without Brady.
And then you in the same breath sitting here being like, well, Ben Johnson that's the guy, is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a very good head coach in the NFL, and I think Caleb Williams is going to be great.
You're like, look at what he got out of Jared Goff. Jared Goff was good before Ben Johnson.
Jared Goff was in the 2 best offenses with the 2 best offensive-minded head coaches that he could have possibly asked for.
Jared Goff was
Jared Goff would be putting the fries in the bag if it wasn't for those guys.
Bro, that is ridiculous. You literally
Jared Goff is such an average quarterback.
You are literally
even with these guys, you think he's average.
Literally sitting here in the same breath saying you don't give the players enough credit, and then in the same breath you're giving the coaches all the credit. Like, you are what does that mean? What does that mean?
I think that Ben Johnson is going to do a great job.
But guess what? Jared Goff was good before Ben Johnson, and he's probably going to be good after Ben Johnson. So
probably not as good, but sure.
He was good in LA. He was good in Detroit.
He was not good until Ben Johnson started taking over the play calling.
Jared Goff. All right. That first off, that roster, we're so off topic now. It doesn't even matter.
We are.
But Jared Goff was good before Ben Johnson, and he's probably going to be good after Ben Johnson.
On the Lions, no, he was not.
So stop throwing him.
No, he wasn't good until Ben Johnson started calling plays.
You literally sitting here trying
Dude,
to
the Lions
like
were
Ben
0-16. What are you talking about?
They were one of the worst rosters in football.
Okay.
Like, what are you
That's not my fault. Yeah, and Jared Goff is the problem.
Oh my God, dude. I'm done. You literally are just saying, you're literally saying one thing, and then this is what you guys do when you argue quarterbacks too. You're like, oh, like I don't like when Jordan Love throws picks, but I love Baker
I don't argue
Mayfield.
quarterbacks.
You're like, I love Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield led the league in picks this season. Like, you guys,
I wasn't arguing quarterbacks.
Yes, you do. Don't sit here and say that you don't argue quarterbacks when we literally have groups.
I leave that up to you and Brady because I know that it's an pointless conversation.
I literally have texts from you saying the exact same thing that I just said. So you're doing the same thing now where you're
probably a couple weeks ago. It's not worth it.
You're big upping. Don't act too fucking cool for conversations when we literally.
It's not worth it. It's the same. It's such an endless. It's non-ending. It never ends.
Too cool for conversations when me and you are in the business of making content. So don't act too fucking cool for it. Okay.
I know. I try to save it for on here, but off here, I try to avoid it.
It's sparring. It's getting reps in. So get fucking used to it.
It's not worth it off of camera. It's way more fun.
Cool. Don't act too fucking cool. You are.
I'm not. I'd rather do it on here. I'm not. I would rather do it on here.
Okay, and we are doing it on here. But I'm just saying.
This is way more fun than doing it over text.
Don't act too fucking cool.
When I'm sitting at work.
Oh, that's not worth it to me. That's not worth it.
It's not. I'd rather do it here.
Cool. Don't act
when we're on camera rather than me sitting at work typing away for 3 hours a day.
Well, you're welcome for me and Brady. We literally help each other get through mental health days through work. So don't fucking act too cool. I'm just saying to wrap this out completely, don't sit here and big up somebody who's proven nothing and then in the same breath give somebody at least give him a little bit of fucking credit for being
I've done that.
OC. I'm just saying.
I did that. But I literally said I think he deserves some credit. Okay. I don't think he deserves as much as everybody's giving him.
He's won 6 Super Bowls. Give him some
I said
respect.
This from the very beginning of this entire argument.
No, now you're backpedaling.
No, I'm not. Run the film. I said I don't think he deserves as much credit as you guys are giving him.
No,
I said that to start this whole thing.
I think that you acting like he's not capable of developing a quarterback is wildly incompetent.
We'll see. That's all I'll say is we'll see.
Wildly. So, agree to disagree, obviously, but Mike Vrabel and McDaniel's powerhouse, they have a ton of games under their belt where they've played in every big game known to man. Like literally every big game known to man. And ultimately, when you're going into a building where I think that the Patriots are lost is how I would describe it currently, where they have some guys. Drake May's pretty good. The defense still has some of that Belichick identity, but it seems like lost right now. I think the defense could be kind of decent again. They're decent this year, even without Judon, without Christian Gonzalez, key guys who you would want to see on the team. Yeah, they're not with that. Judon's obviously not in the building, but without them on the field, you're still getting decent reps on your defense. So I still think the defense will be pretty good. Drake May's pretty good, but they need somebody to come into that building and round it out because post Belichick era and even the end of the Belichick era, it's been ugly, super ugly.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a side of things that I'm not worried about, it's the defense. I think that'll always be what the Patriots can lean on. Excuse me, at least for these next couple of years until they get some more talent on the offensive side of the ball. But New England defenses are known to at least give you something.
So there's some free agents that I would love to see on this team. I think a lot of people love the idea of T. Higgins for this team, who has been stuck in Cincinnati. He wants that bigger deal. They said that they're gonna salary cap him, blah blah blah. He tweets out the cap emoji right away and all that stuff. It just seems like as much talk as the Bengals do, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, about getting him in this building, They just it's not going to happen. They don't have the pockets to do it. And if you're not willing to take the pay cut or whatever, just stop talking about it. Because
Wait, why
T.
can't they
Higgins,
tag him?
they can tag him, but T. Higgins wants a long-term deal, which
Why wouldn't they just do that though if they have that option to tag him?
I think that what they're going to do is do a non-exclusive tag or whatever, and give somebody the opportunity to offer him a big deal, and then they can have the opportunity then to match it. And if they don't, then he will go to the other team.
Oh, okay.
But I think that as of now, what would make T. Higgins most happy, because ultimately at the end of the day, yeah, you could tag him, but what if T. Higgins just looks at you and goes, yeah, I don't want to play. I'm not going to play, because there was already some of that.
Isn't that the Le'Veon Bell situation?
Well, it was this past season situation where he wasn't going to play pretty much, and then he got banged up, and then missed a large stretch of games. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume if he has a long-term deal with this organization, he might be more willing to fight through some injuries than he is right now.
Oh, well, yeah, just like most players.
Yeah, so I just think that that's what would make him most happy right now, and I think throwing another tag on him is just gonna be bad for vibes. So obviously,
yeah, I agree.
T. Higgins is getting linked to the Patriots. My personal favorite one, and the one that I want to see happen, I think Chris Godwin would be the perfect Patriot.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's so good in the slot. The only thing is that guy just can't stay healthy. And coming off of he tore his ACL week 10? Something like that.
Remember his ankle, his foot went like this
on that Sunday night or Monday night game. That's what I'm thinking of. I thought it was an ACL, so that's on me. But yeah, that sucked. I agree with you though. I think he would be a phenomenal fit there. Even if he only plays 11 games, I still think the benefit would be there for this offense in New England, because they just don't really have anything.
No, they don't have anything. And I think that somebody who has as sure of hands in the business as Chris Godwin, where it's he's not reliant on a deep ball, let's say, or something like that. He is quite literally middle of the field, outside of the boundary, has sure hands, can fight from the slot. I just think that would be low key match made in heaven for somebody like Drake May, who you see how much he relied on somebody like Hunter Henry last season, who was kind of his safety blanket, getting somebody who is a little more electric. And I guess you're right. I guess we can start to worry about some of Chris Godwin's injuries. That sucks to say, because I actually really like Chris Godwin as a player. So I just hope I'm just pretending he's fully healthy. I'm throwing it. I don't do that for 99% of players, but I'm just going to pretend Chris Godwin's going to be fully healthy when he comes back.
Nice.
Because I really, do you like him? I like him a lot.
Yeah, I love Chris Godwin. Obviously, I like it. He Penn Stater, of course, but even then, he was just always a guy that was
so good.
Just a guy in the slot where he was almost what felt like the more reliable of the guys, as far as if he wasn't hurt so often, it felt like he was more of this go-to safety valve type guy for when Brady was there, and even when Baker Mayfield was there too. It seemed like he was kind of the guy that was the more comfortable of the two.
Am I just complete? Okay, so he played 17 games in 2023, 15, 14 in 2021, 12 in 2020, 14 in 2019, 16 and 16. So
not bad.
I think he's been relatively healthy, don't you think?
Yeah, I feel just recently it seems like the last 3 years it feels like he's been kind of banged up. Could you read his last 3 years?
Did he ever tear his ACL? I don't think he's ever.
I thought that's what it was when I was thinking of the game with the ankle. I thought it was ACL, not ankle.
Last year he played 17 games. The year before that he played 15. So he missed 2. So he's been pretty healthy.
Wait, how did he play 17 games last year? He definitely didn't.
I'm looking at it right here. He did. 2023.
Oh, okay. I was
Like
going to say
not
last
this
year
season.
he was out from week 7 on, right?
No, not this season. The
2024.
previous season.
Yeah, yeah.
2024 is 2024 is I'm saying is
No,
this season because it just ended.
he tore his ACL.
When?
Chris Godwin's sensational 2024 campaign was prematurely cut short when he suffered a dislocated ankle in the club's Week 7 loss to the Ravens. The injury occurred in the final minute of the game following a 21-yard catch, and Godwin was carted off the field for the first time in his NFL tenure. He walked off after tearing his ACL MCL in 2021. So it had to have been like at the very end of 2021.
He played in 14 games in 2021, and then he played in 15 games in 2022.
So
And
he
had,
probably missed the last 3 and then the first 2.
which is crazy because in 2021 he had 98 catches. In 2022 he had 104 catches, and he had 1,000 yards in both those seasons.
Yeah.
So
like when he's there, he's still, even with these shortened seasons, he's still putting up good, like really good numbers.
Maybe he's just built different. That's crazy to think about. But those are two guys that obviously I think are going to be are going to be attached to the Patriots like the entire offseason. And then obviously they probably need to shore up that O-line.
I'm looking at this right now. The Monday night game, when he got hurt, he was leading the NFL with 50 catches, 30 receiving first downs, and 324 yards after the catch, while tied for first in receiving touchdowns with 5. So like he was on another generational run.
Yeah, and he was like the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. He was balling.
He was on pace for the best season of his career.
Yeah, which hurts, but that's why I like him so much. Hopefully, I think that he's proven that he can bounce back from injury, so let's hope he can do it again. The NFL draft, obviously right around the corner. We are completely in like draft mode. Combine's going on right now. The Patriots have the 4th overall pick. I'm sitting here saying they should shore up the offensive line. Do you take Will Campbell? I just think that if Travis Hunter's on the board, you got to take him. You have to take Travis Hunter. If Travis Hunter is at the 4th overall pick, and I sent it to you the other day, every scout at the NFL Combine saying that he's the number 1 overall wide receiver, he's the number 1 overall corner. Like I feel like the
best player available.
The closer I get to the draft, like the sexier Travis Hunter seems to me, because it just seems like he's so low key, where like in like a good way, like he's like he like hops on Twitch and like plays video games, and like he's not very flashy or like anything like that. Like I just think that like I almost like kind of forget about him in the whole grand scheme of things, but I feel like you have to get Travis Hunter if he's available at 4. Like, do you agree with that, or do you think they go O-line?
I mean, if he's there at 4, that's a very difficult situation to pass up. I think the best thing like that the Patriots are working with is, 1, they have so many needs. 2, they have the 4th pick in the draft, and 3, they have like 125 million plus in cap space. So like they do want to take Travis Hunter. They've got so much money to go out there and improve elsewhere in free agency. I don't know if you're going to quite get like the best value and the best players out in free agency as of right now, but like there are certainly guys that you can go out there and get that are going to help this Patriots team, and that will be upgrades. It's just a matter of like figuring out if you want to keep them long term or not, because obviously when you get a guy in the draft, you keep him for what they have a rookie deal of 5 years in the first round. So it would be sick to be able to pair Christian Gonzalez and Travis Hunter on the defense and just have 2 potential lockdowns for the next, hopefully 10 to 15, like 10 years.
And then incorporate him on offense too.
Yeah. I think that's almost impossible to pass up if you're New England and he's sitting there at 4. Too. Especially because from what I've been seeing is like Will Campbell is going to be great, but the biggest issue with him was like the length of his arms is what people were saying. And a lot of people were talking about how when he gets to the NFL, moving him into guard, and like he'd probably be an all-pro guard, but you don't want to draft a guard with the 4th overall pick.
No, that's what
Like
I've
that's a
been.
premium position. Like that's a premium position to draft for if you're 4th overall.
Yeah, I'm with you. If there's any question, if there's any question mark that like he is not like Joe Alt, zero
Yeah.
conversation. He's going to be a tackle and he's going to be one of the best tackles in the draft. Like
Yeah.
the fact that there's even a little bit of conversation around a guy saying that he might need to move to guard, I think I'm out on him this early.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that that's perfectly normal because you have Travis. If you have Travis Hunter sitting there, and
You
he's the
have
most
to.
probably him and Abdul are the 2 best players in this draft in my eyes. Um, so like if you can get him at 4, that's like crazy.
You have to. Me and you are in lockstep with that.
He would also
I've been
look sick as hell in a Patriots uniform, as much as
100%.
that kills me to say.
100%. I've been thinking about it more and more, like, because I've been like playing with the ideas and stuff like that, and I've been like trying to go boring and be like, this guy's going to take a quarterback and they're going to take O line, and I'm just like, why they need to? If they don't take Travis Hunter, I'm going to freak out. If he's on the board, you have to take him. Be a smash hit.
I want to know what free agent offensive linemen we have out there. Like,
I have absolutely no idea. I don't think
I wonder if
as
there's
crazy
any
as
that are
it might
worth.
sound is like I saw that Trey Smith was getting franchise tagged, so it doesn't matter. As
He's off the board.
like as I'm not like an offensive line guru. So even if I looked at like a list of guys, like I don't know like if I would be like, oh yeah, like that guy's gonna be really good because I like a few years back when like the Bengals got like who's the really tall guy? I forget his name.
Dunlap.
Orlando he played for
Orlando Brown.
Orlando Brown. He played for the Ravens. Everybody's like, this guy's really good. He automatically went the the Bengals and like sucked.
Bad.
I really think that there are guys who are really good. Like Ronnie Stanley's available. Like I know that he struggled. Cam Robinson's available, left tackle. He's available. Aaron Banks is a guard. He's available. I think the Eagles are like a really good example of all of this. It just feels like if you have like a good infrastructure of like an offensive line coach who is like able
That's
to
what I was just
develop
gonna
guys,
say.
because like look at Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton stunk, and then
Bad.
he went to Philly, and now he's like about to get a payday, and he's like pretty good. So I think that like I think guys could be good and they could be bad. It just depends where they're at and how they use them. I don't know. I'm not an offensive
Like,
line guy.
could we see more teams model after Philly and be like, hey, we think we could really there's nothing wrong with having a guard that's as big as a tackle as long as he's doing his job. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing having Mekhi Becton in there at like 6'8" on the right side of the line, just moving dudes around with Lane Johnson. Like, it's a blessing that we were able to get him. I don't understand why more teams maybe haven't given that a shot. Apparently, playing interior offensive line is a little bit easier. You're not out on an island as much as you are if you're a right or left tackle. So maybe we could see something like that end up happening, especially if these teams like New England feels really good about who they have at their offensive line coach. But that's just probably something to keep an eye out. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't really know. Like, I'm just kind of looking through the list and I'm thinking, okay, if you are on a team with a good offensive line and you're a free agent, like odds are you're probably pretty good, like you're decent. But I know that's not always the case.
Yeah, like Ronnie Stanley literally drove me insane this year watching the Ravens, and he's like deemed as a
Yeah.
good left tackle. So, but no, I'm right with you. But sneaky, the Patriots have an opportunity to have a I'm buying in early on the Patriots. Like it depends on who they get in the draft. If they get Travis Hunter, I might be like sipping the Patriots Kool-Aid like crazy as like a team who has the opportunity to break out and be a potential playoff team this upcoming season. But it definitely starts with the draft. And obviously we get free agency before that, so we might even see how they shore up some spots on their team that we're worried about, and obviously go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we see them start to sign any free agents before the draft, as far as offensive linemen go, I think that could be a pretty clear indicator of the direction that they want to go in the draft. And if they bring in one or two guys to come in and try to start right away, I feel like it makes a lot more sense to start to point in the direction of them getting Travis Hunter, or I don't know, maybe like another offensive weapon, or like I'm just trying to think here. Like they could take a wide receiver at 4 if Travis Hunter isn't there, or
I'd
whoever the
puke.
best player available is, right?
Ted
Like,
McMillan at 4, I'd puke.
yeah, that would suck. But you get my point. It's they have the ability where like, hey, Mason Graham is there. If you have him at 4, I don't think there's any issues with taking a guy like Mason Graham at the 4th overall pick. If you're
No,
New England, if
I was
Travis
gonna
Hunter's off the board and you don't like Will Campbell.
I was gonna say that too. It's just a boring pick to say let's take a defensive tackle at
It is,
4.
but that's what works. It isn't flashy, but
You say that, and I get it because you are an Eagles fan and everything, and that's how they have won, like, and have been
like the
relevant.
Patriots or
But
the
like,
Chiefs too. Like their one of their best players on defense was a defensive tackle that they could
yeah, and
play at
he's
any
been there.
spot.
Yeah, and he's been there forever. But I'm just saying, like, the infrastructure for
I know it
you
doesn't
can't
replicate team
compare the
for
Eagles
everybody, but
and the Chiefs to the rest of the teams in the NFL. They like the Eagle like going into this offseason, like if the Eagles, and this is a complete, like, I mean, I think you could probably agree with this as well. The Eagles didn't absolutely like A+ nail the Cooper DeJean and the Quinyon Mitchell pick, like we'd be having different conversations about the Eagles because their secondary was fucking awful
right,
last year. And then they
right.
signed Chauncey Gardner Johnson. They have like an A+ smash like draft where they get guys who are going to be good for a really long time. And then their defense is like, and hire Vic Fangio, and their defense is amazing. Like,
Right, but go around the league, and if you look at the teams, obviously the Lions were all banged up, but like they made improvements to their defensive line. The Niners had obviously a horrible season, but like they were dealing with injuries. Their defensive line is normally pretty solid. The Rams invested in their defensive line, and we saw how that went. They were one play away pretty much from playing for an
yeah,
NFC
but
championship.
then
Like,
let's talk about like the Giants defensive line who have like Dexter Lawrence
yeah,
and
of
Brian
course. I
Burns
get it.
and Kayvon
Yeah, I get
Thibodeau,
it. The
like,
rest of the
and
team's
Bobby
terrible.
O, like they have a good front
Yeah.
seven. Like I'm with you. Like it's just so hard to, like, obviously Mason Graham's really good, and like whoever gets him, he's gonna probably be good for a long time. But Travis Hunter is just it's the name, him and the New England Patriots jersey would just hit.
Is there any scenario you could see the Patriots trading back? I think
Yeah, I
the
heard
only way they end up trading back is if both
why.
quarterbacks are off the board.
I just don't see why both quarterbacks are off the board or on the board.
Or sorry. If the only way I could see them trading back is if only one quarterback is off the board by the time their
I
pick
don't
is
think
in.
so. I don't think so.
I don't think it gets to that point, but I think that could happen.
Unless if there's literally an opportunity to like get like a second first round pick or something like that, sure. But I don't
You
think it'll
think?
take it. I don't think it'll take it in this draft. I'm not 100% sure, obviously, but if like the Raiders are sitting at 6 and there's a quarterback on the board and the Patriots just are like, hey, do you want to trade up for it? Like the two teams that are in front of them like aren't going to take a quarterback. So it's like stick and pick, get the best player. You like the Raiders know for a fact, like unless if the Jets want to get aggressive,
That's what I was
like,
going to say is the Jets.
but then like at that point, like it is what it is, and then you just take the best player available too. Or we can start having that conversation with like Jackson Dart's available, which who knows at this point, like what could happen.
Well, I'm thinking about the Jets specifically because, say, the Raiders are interested and Shadur Sanders is on the board at 4, and the Jets are like, oh, we really want him. Like, Jets could
I
I
don't
don't think they
so.
do, but
You get to a point where like
I'm playing all the hypotheticals though.
Yeah, I know. You get to a point where like you had an opportunity to get like Mason Graham or um Travis Hunter, and then you're to the point then where you're like looking at like some other edge rushers who like aren't Abdul Carter and then like Will Howard.
Yeah, it's Michael Williams and I mean
Jalen.
James Pierce is listed on here, but like I don't think
No,
he's
he'll
gets
go
picked that
later.
high.
He
Jalen
was
Walker's the other one.
The guys who are going to go after Abdul or
Abdul or
Jalen and
Michael Williams
Michael, and then the kid
yeah,
from Marshall will go early.
Mike Green.
Yeah. But hey, complete hypotheticals. I think we should move on.
White clouds